In this video, I'm going to take you through how and why we use subprograms. I'm going to explain the difference between procedures and variables, arguments and parameters, and I'm going to tell you the difference between local and global variables. A subprogram or a subroutine is a piece of code within the main program. It can be called multiple times or not at all. Using a subroutine can save you time. If you only have to write one piece of code but can use it multiple times, then that is far more efficient than writing the same thing out lots and lots of different times. If you use subroutines in your program, it is also easier to debug your code. You can just run the subroutine and see what happens rather than having to trawl through the whole program to find out what's going on. Using subroutines in your program also make it easier for other programmers to read what you are doing and follow the logic of your code. And they are a great way to help you decompose a problem. Subprograms can also be saved externally, so lots of different separate programs can use the same routines. When a subroutine is called from the main program, the program flow jumps to the subroutine is executed, and then the program flow returns to where it left off. Python has lots of built-in functions, such as print. When you type print, hello world, what you are actually doing is sending the string hello world to its built-in print function. Int will send a value to the built-in int function and convert it to an integer. There are many other built-in functions in Python, and you can also use the import command to get more. And you can also write your own. There are two types of subprograms, procedures and functions. They both work in exactly the same way, apart from functions return values back to the main program. Okay, let's look at procedures first. Take this procedure which converts minutes into hours and minutes. The main program calls the procedure and it sends it the minutes value. The function receives that value and performs the calculations. An argument is the value that you send to the procedure or function, in this case 90. Note, it is not the variable name, it is the value that is the argument. When you create a subprogram, you define which values you expect to be sent from the main program. These variable names are called parameters. Here is the same subprogram, but I have changed it into a function. You will notice the only difference I have made is I send the value, the answer, back to the main program. Now, the thing that you have to get your head around is when that value comes back to the main program, you have to capture it. You have to store it somewhere. If you don't, it is just lost forever when the program moves on to the next line. So what you have to do is you have to say variable name equals whatever I get back from this function. Whatever is returned from the function is stored in this variable name. Now, when you create variables inside of a function or a procedure, they are local variables. That means only the function or procedure, the subprogram, knows about them and can use them. If you try and reference those variables outside of the subprogram, you will get an error. The rest of the program does not know about the variables that you create inside of a subprogram. They are self-contained. These are called local variables. Variables which are defined elsewhere in the main program can be used within a subprogram. These are called global variables. A subprogram can contain a variable name, a local variable, which is exactly the same name as a global variable. In this situation, note that changing the local variable does not affect the global variable with the same name. Top tip, use different names in your subprogram. Don't use the same name for a local variable as you have used for a global variable. Use different names. When you create a variable inside of a subprogram, you can specifically say, this is a global variable. That will change the behavior. So previously, it would, by default, only be able to be referenced from within that subprogram. But if you say in your subprogram, this is a global variable, then the rest of the program knows about that variable and can use that variable name as well.